My name is Caleb Prince, and this is my persuasive speech. Our food supply, our lives, our future are in danger. It's coming from a genetically modified food organism, better known as GMOs. Food is something near and dear to each one of us. Our food supply has been consistent for thousands of years, but now the very essence of our food is being threatened. Proponents for genetically engineered foods claim they hold the potential to greatly increase nutritional value of food as well as productivity of crops. Well, while at the same time those who object to GMOs say they have health and safety and environmental problems. The ultimate choice concerning GMOs should be placed into the hands of the well-informed consumer. These facts should not be held in the dark by those in power of government and large corporations, which may not have the general public's interest as their primary goal. Now, why be concerned? Well, Jeffrey Smith wrote a book called Seeds of Deception. He claims that despite the negative knowledge known of these harmful mutations, the number of cultivated GMOs is increasing each year. And only a few scientists, corporations, and government, our regulators, are making the decisions that will affect us all. Jeffrey gives an example about GMO crops. An experiment they did was called the Flavor Saver tomatoes, engineered to prolong shelf life. They did a study with rats to see if they ate them, but the rats refused to eat the tomatoes. Usually rats happy to munch on tomatoes, turned their noses upright, and would not have any of it. The rats were, of course, forced to eat them, and through gastric tubes. Several developed stomach lesions. 7 of the 40 died within 2 weeks. But guess what? The tomatoes were approved for human consumption. Jeffrey Smith also writes another book called Genetic Roulette, and in this book he gives 9 dangers of GMO foods. But here are 3 that I feel are most important. First one, genetically modified foods have not had long-term research done, and very little information is known about this. The government approved of the use of these foods and the food chain under false assumption. The second one is one of the biggest dangers is genetically modified foods is that there is no labeling requirements. Without labeling, it is impossible to know which foods are at high risk so that you can avoid them and protect the health of you, yourself, and your family. Therefore, and number 3, there is no way to tell if a genetically modified food can have an effect on genetics of people. At first, it was believed by scientists and researchers that modified genes were destroyed during the digestive process. But recently, modified food genes have been found in the brains of some infant mice. This can be very dangerous in the infants and children, and pose unknown risks to anyone who eats these foods. In Europe, consumers are demanding the right to be informed whether or not the food they are eating is genetically modified, with strict labeling laws. When given the pros and cons of genetically modified foods, the United Kingdom even shouted in response, "No to GMOs." Polls indicated that some even Americans would like the labeling laws, but it has not become a major issue yet. Mostly because consumers are not informed, or perhaps we are being duped. What's frustrating to me is American food corporations are more than willing to sell GMO-free foods to Europe without giving Americans the same standards. Ethan Huff, who writes a journal for naturalnews.com, wrote an article on how Hershey Company provided non-GMO confections to Europe, but not to the US. In the article, he states that Hershey Company is expanding its candy market to Europe with GMO-free products. However, Hershey's has no intention of changing any of its U.S. formulas, all of which are tainted with GMOs ingredients. So, what are we to do about it? Well, first of all, you need to know the 4 major group culprits. These are 4 that are the most important: soy, corn, cotton, and canola. These are the big culprits of the whole thing. Now you're asking yourself, how can I avoid these foods? Well, it's simple. Buy organic. Organic is the most heavily regulated and closely monitored system in the United States. Consumers can rest assured that certified organic means that there's no antibiotics, synthetic hormones, and pesticides and GMOs. Look for words like certified organic. The second thing you can do is stay away from prepackaged foods. As much as 70% of food prepackaged is normally grocery store contain genetically modified foods. Be aware of these 4 products, like I listed before, which are in most prepackaged foods. Remember, the ingredients are listed on the products, and ones at the top contain the greater amount. Look for foods that with fewer ingredients, as well as foods that you can pronounce and recognize. This is important. The third step you can do is get informed. Buy products listed on non-GMO shopping guides available online. Consumers hold a lot of power, and there is some good news coming out on the subject. More and more companies are voluntarily offering healthier alternatives, as these consumers ourselves are seeking healthier alternatives. We consumers need to hit the tipping point. And one of the reasons we haven't hit the tipping point is because we don't know enough about the subject. There are no consumer benefits with GMOs, and the larger companies and food chains feel the effect of consumers that they will be forced to switch whether they like it or not. Now, in conclusion, genetically modified foods were introduced into our food supply without much democratic decision-making at all. A few scientists and large food companies are trying to change the permanent genetic makeup of all living things, all things we love so dearly, and change them forever in a way that we can never get back. It's technology that could not coexist with nature. It invades and contaminates and destroys. I hope this talk has sparked an interest to be more informed as a consumer and for the future of our food supply. Thank you.